All right, welcome into the Dog Central YouTube channel on a Thursday evening. We are one day closer to football. We have actual college football to watch this weekend. Uh, you know, Finally making it out of the desert and the oasis is on the horizon. I am Graham Coffey. I am joined tonight by a couple friends of mine, Robby and Spencer from a Rich Tradition podcast. Both of you are guys whose opinions I really value, and I've enjoyed listening to your content for a couple of years now. We've done some shows together before on your feeds, and you guys are kind of joining our Dog Central family of podcasts to bring some more national coverage. You guys cover college football, the whole enchilada, so to speak. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell us about your show, and most importantly, where people can find you guys.
So our show is called A Rich Tradition. Spencer and I, we've been friends since, holy crap, 2010. So 13 years now. Spencer was doing radio broadcasts at Valdosta State University. And Spencer, correct me if I'm wrong in any of this story, but Spencer was given like radio time for Valdosta State like at night. And he started like doing a sports radio talk show at VSU. And I came on a few times, and we just kind of realized, hey, we got something here. And then I had to go and get married and move, and so completely ruined all of that. And then about 4 years ago, we started kind of wanting to do a podcast together. Since he's been working down in Valdosta, hosting a radio show and being the voice of the Valdosta State Blazers.
Yeah. Awesome.
Which he's been doing for a long time. And we just, man, our podcast is called A Rich Tradition, and we just love college football across the board. Like I'm that weirdo that watches Marshall play Citadel on a Tuesday night. I'm not betting on it. I just like watching it. Like, I mean, that's
okay.
yeah, I know. Like that's what I say. Like, I know you're betting on it, but like I'm just watching it because I just love football. But Spencer and I just, man, we love talking about football, and in an age, and I know you know this, Graham, in an age where no matter how hard you try, like politics, social stuff gets thrown into sports talk. Man, we just try to talk about how much we enjoy the game and talk about the players and coaches and the fans that make up this beautiful broken sport that we love.
A sports show about sports. What a novel idea you guys have there. Those are hard to come by these days. Spencer, give us your perspective, man.
Well, the most accurate thing that he said was that he got married and moved away and ruined everything. So that was two friends, one love, and that is college football. And we've always just sort of bonded over Saturday and a little bit of Sunday as well with the Falcons. But ultimately, we've just always loved college football. I've always felt that it was different from when I was a kid. The college game day atmosphere, all of the signs, all of the band, and everything that would just go into a college Saturday, and then sort of the doom and gloom studio of Sunday just always was that stood out to me when I was little. And so me and Rob have always liked it, and we've always come together about the Dogs, and we've found that we like college football from everywhere else as well. So yeah, Robbie pretty much hit the nail on the head. We're just two friends who love it, and we can go back and forth with one another and have some fun.
Well, yeah. So you opened the door there to talking about the Dogs, and I've gotten to join you guys a couple times. I think we did an SEC championship preview maybe a couple of years ago, and
Natty Natty.
I was right once.
You and I were both right once.
Yeah. We flipped but
I remember talking you in, like you had the pick right, and I was like, no, this is Georgia's time to slay the dragon. They're going to do it in the SEC championship. Why the heck not? And you were like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. Like this is Kirby's time. Little did we know that the Georgia Bulldogs would barely show up. So
yeah. Totally. But yeah, you guys, are both Georgia fans. Obviously, Dog Central Georgia website, Dog Central Georgia channel. We are here to do an SEC West preview today, but obviously, you guys have been keeping up with camp from the UGA perspective. Like, what are your thoughts? Carson Beck's been named starter. We got running backs falling out left and right. What are your vibes as the road to 3 is about to get underway?
I'll let you go, Spencer.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, obviously the Carson Beck sounded like that was par for the course, I guess, if that's the right way to phrase that. We were expecting that. I don't think anybody's overly surprised there. He's got the experience. He's sort of the guy that's hung around for a while. It seems like it's fair to give him that shot, and not just fair because he's been around and we're just going to hand it to him, but every time we've seen him on the field, whether it was TCU or whether it was any other game in mop up duty or whatever it was, he always seemed to have control of the offense, moving everything down the field. Anytime you can hand over the keys to this kind of talent, I think that's a good thing as well to anybody who's got a good head on their shoulders. So the Carson Beck news was great. Or I gave that a thumbs up, and then all of the injury stuff has been the most eye opening of everything. If you're going to go into you're going to try to move through an SEC schedule, and I know it's not the toughest schedule in the history of the world, but if you're going to try to move through a schedule, it's good to have all of your pieces. And Georgia just has so much down right now that, it sort of makes you scratch your head a little bit saying this is not the way we wanted to start off the year, especially in that backfield. That Branson Robinson injury earlier this week was really crushing, just because you had flashes of him last year that were really exciting, and you think, man, with this guy getting several more carries, a lot more opportunities, you were excited to see him get up and go. But I think Kirby's got the answers. He's resting the guys he's supposed to be resting, and those guys up front will create holes for whoever's the healthy guy taking the ball.
For sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Robby?
Just a comment on Beck. Like, this isn't like when Joe Cox was given the job just because he had been there forever. Like it wasn't because, this isn't that. I really want Beck to work.
Mm-hmm.
But I love Georgia. I was a Stetson Bennett defender, but I do find myself like sometimes trying to keep a level head on things. Like, in my mind, we're playing with house money at this point. We won back-to-back titles. Like, we could go 10-2 and I am ecstatic, because no teams go on runs like this anymore.
Right.
However, I think we got really lucky that Beck had bad grades that didn't let him transfer whenever he wanted to transfer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like, we got really lucky, and praise God, like, he's going to get to play. He seems to be great. Like, he seems to be chunking it. There seems to be higher talent at quarterback than with Stetson. Maybe not as much mobility, but arm talent. My concern, though, because I'm going to share a concern. My concern is when Kirby stands at the not pulpit, he's not a preacher. When he stands up at the podium and says twice now, he's mentioned the lack of pass rush, the lack of getting to the quarterback.
D-line depth.
Yeah. He never lies to us. He has never lied. I remember his first presser before that spring game when he said, when he first got hired on, our DBs are not good and our O-line is soft. And guess what happened? And guess what happened that first year? We lost to Vandy. We should have lost to that other garbage team.
Nicholls State.
State. Yeah, Norfolk State or something like that. And so
it was Nicholls. Yeah.
So when he tells us that the pass rush is not great, that is alarming to me. But Spencer's right. Our schedule is about as easy as wet downy tissue paper. But we still have to go out there and win games, and we will get everybody's best game this year. But Graham, you and I have talked about this, a lot. I think Mike Bobo is going to just keep the Monken system.
Uh-huh.
And and just keep doing what we've been doing, where we're a multifaceted offense that doesn't just do one thing. With that said, we are relying on Kendall Milton to stay healthy.
Well, among others, but
Among other, and because I like Andrew Paul.
Yeah.
Hearing he's doing well, I really like Branson Robinson. The dude looks like a Greek god, and I hate that he just hasn't been healthy and he's done for the year.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm at. I'm encouraged. We're playing with house money, but we have a really good team. A really good team.
For sure. And it's funny, I was kind of going over this in my head today a little bit. Because I'm on, our website all the time, and I'm on Twitter, and like it is sort of set up where I feel like Georgia fans are going to be disappointed if they don't win a third straight, but maybe even, disappointed like if they're not perfect. And it's just, it doesn't happen that much. College football is a fluky sport. Like the last team that was in a position like this lost on, they kicked the own losing touchdown. You know what I mean? Like the kick six, like it's a fluky, weird sport. And the athletes are so good, but they're also so young that they do dumb stuff sometimes, and they make mistakes, and they're in the wrong places in the wrong moments. And that's what I love about it, is the randomness of it. But with Georgia, that's something I've talked about a little bit recently on some of our shows, is the D line depth is a question for sure. And I definitely am curious to see who steps up next to Stackhouse, because I think he's a known, and you got a bunch of other guys that have been highly recruited. But the one thing that I guess maybe makes me feel a little bit better is Georgia's pass rush last year wasn't great either. There wasn't many times they got pressure with 4. And, you got Jalen Walker, and you're lucky as a program that you have a guy that's built like an 8-year All-Pro from the NFL, and you don't need him to start at inside linebacker, and you don't need him there on third downs. You got other guys. And so, I think Georgia's pressure packages last year were awesome. They didn't really get pressure that much as a front 4, but I also have questioned how much of that was like this 2-gap philosophy where
there's middle linebackers.
Yeah. And like, we're going to control the run with a light box against teams like Tennessee. But, that Tennessee game, they had 5 or 6 sacks. And other than the Carter one in the end zone that I don't even think counted as a sack because it was a fumble, like that was, Bullard and some of these other guys. So I think as long as you got Glenn Schumann back there, probably.
And Muschamp dialing up prep for the week. But
it's a question for sure.
Yeah. But that's, of all of the things that go into play for a football team, my question or concern is defensive line depth. Even though I know we have Michael Williams, we have Marvin Jones Jr., we have guys who we know are just genetic freaks.
Right.
You wanted, I hate to say this, but I kind of, even though I know he was a problem in the locker room, you kind of want that big body Barry Alexander right now,
Maybe.
But again, I'd rather have what we have than have a trouble in the locker room. So
it's a trade-off. Especially in the NIL era, it's a giant trade-off. What about you, Spencer? Is there any possible concerns that you have on this team, or anything that's really kind of caught your attention?
Well, I was just going to add to the pass rush conversation there. In that national championship or the semifinal game against Ohio State, you guys mentioned the coaching staff, and I think too, when you have Kirby and you have those other guys sort of figuring out, how to create a little bit of pressure, or how to get the quarterback maybe not seeing things the way you want him to. You go to the first half and the second half of that semifinal game, and you realize there's a different CJ Stroud in the second half of that game than there was in the first half of the game. So I felt like as the game went on, they figured out, at least in that situation, how to make that stuff work. and how to figure out, how to get the quarterback off his spot a little
Mhm.
bit. I would just go back to the injuries. I mean, I know I don't want me to sound like a broken record, but just that list of injuries that you can read, you start talking about depth and how important depth is throughout the season. If these things continue to linger for a lot of these guys, if it's the hamstring stuff that doesn't clear up the way that you want it to, or it's toes that are bothering guys, it's just stuff that keeps them dinged up all season long. If there's anything that can trip you up, maybe it would be your depth, or like Graham said, you put a young guy in a position he's not all the way ready for, and then you end up with a weird loss to Auburn or a weird loss to whoever, and you've got a blemish on your record at that point. So I would just reiterate those injuries and the how far along that kind of stuff can go to potentially putting someone in a spot to make a big decision that maybe they're not ready for.
Fair enough. All right, I'm going to switch gears, talk about the SEC West here. Spencer, I know you got to jump off soon, so I want to get some thoughts from you here in the beginning. Just as you look across the division, and we'll hit on kind of all these teams here at one point or another, but is there a theme? I mean, obviously the theme is like, is Alabama back on top, or not back, not that they ever really went away after a 10-2 season, but besides kind of the just the internal like big Bama question, what sticks out to you about the division?
Well, I mean, it's those two at the top. Of course, I'm as interested as anybody is to see what Auburn's going to bring to the table in year one. And we were talking a little bit. You guys were talking a little bit before we started. The Peyton Thorne. I thought Robbie Ashford was going to be the guy there. Just his mobility and what he brought with his legs, and I thought that kind of stuff would go a long way. But the experience of Peyton Thorne might prove different, or has proved different for Hugh Freeze. It feels like you've got plenty of sort of big moment question marks. It kind of seems like we're all sort of looking over at Nick Saban and not prove something, but does he have more in him?
Mhm.
Not Les Miles, but Brian Kelly. You know, is this it? Are we going to hit the go button here? This is another opportunity for him to prove that this isn't Notre Dame, that he is here with a different caliber of player now around him, and he's ready to take that next step as a coach. It feels like Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin, there's something there for him to prove, as well as he's maybe kind of plateaued a little bit there in Oxford. So it feels like you've got a lot of different situations where there are things to prove in this conference from a head coaching standpoint. And it's even weird to lump Nick Saban into that group. But like you mentioned, are they back kind of thing after going away for 2 years from the national championship picture, at least. And then, Hugh Freeze is back in the conference as well, so looking for something to prove. And I think if you're the head coach there at Mississippi State, and his name's escaping me at the moment, but
Zach Arnett.
if you're at Mississippi, yeah, thank you. If you're at Mississippi State, you've got kind of something you want to prove that, hey, you're ready to take this job, and you're not just the placeholder trying to hold things together after the tragedy. You want to do that because you care about these guys and you care about Mike Leach's legacy, but you're also ready to prove, hey, this is a chance for me to be the guy.
Absolutely. How about you, Robbie? Like, what's your overarching impression of the division?
I think I told you maybe before Spencer got on. I don't know if there was a more difficult division to feel confidence in than the SEC West. Whether that's questions at quarterback, or questions at DB, or questions of a new coach with talent on his team, or questions of, hey, is this new hire by Jimbo going to find? By the way, 2 new hires he made. Are they going to work out with A&M? I just think this might be the most enigmatic division in college football, because I just think like there are so many possibilities, yet everyone leans on the absolute or the forever absolute of Nick Saban is going to figure it out. And I am not calling the dynasty dead. I am not an idiot. I
Come
just
on,
can't.
call your shot.
No. But I will say this. This is the most I've ever been concerned for an Alabama team.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into Alabama. They're over under 10.5 wins.
All right, let's go. Let's go. I'm getting ready. All right.
Plus 150. All right. So here's what honestly just immediately jumps out to me. My friend Josh Hancher, aka Dog Stats, he made this this kind of advanced season preview guide that we've been showing a lot on these preview shows, and I'm gonna share that on our screen here in just a second. I was looking at it right now. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Gorgeous.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, he did a great job with this. You can get it at dogstats.com. Or you can join Dog Central right now and get it for free if you are watching. We're doing a little fall camp special, but enough about me. Alabama, 10.5 wins. That was priced at 135 to the over, plus 135 to the over back in July. Now that line has moved to plus 150, which basically Vegas is saying if you believe Alabama is an 11-1 football team, or 12-0 for that matter, then we will give you $150 back for you betting $100 on that. And that is not something. I mean, their win total was 11.5 last year, but this is juiced so heavily to the under minus 175. Basically, you have to bet $175 on the under to win $100. That says something to me about where we are with Alabama right now.
I think there's some hyperbole. I will say that. Mm-hmm. There is some I think people want the dynasty to be dead. I think people want Saban to be wrong. People want Saban to just get on out of here with his 72-year-old oatmeal cream pie eating self and just and just leave. However, here's where I'm at with the positives on this Bama team. They will possibly have one of the best offensive lines in the country. They have a new offensive line coach who apparently the last two hires have not worked out well, have not fit, and apparently all the praise is about where is that freshman? I'm trying to remember his name. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry, not Proctor, Caden Proctor.
Proctor, apparently it sounds like Proctor is may take a tackle spot. He is doing so well. Their defense is going to be legit. I would not be surprised at the end of the season if everything defensively is 1-2 Georgia-Bama, 1-2 Georgia-Bama all the way down the line.
Why do you say that? Why do you have faith in their defense after the last couple of years? No, don't be sorry. You're good. And Spencer, chime in here as well, please, if you have thoughts, because I know you got to go in about 5 minutes.
I like Dallas Turner a lot. I thought Dallas Turner actually could be better than Will Anderson. I just think Will Anderson got plays called for him and he's great. I'm not belittling Will Anderson whatsoever. I just think there's been quiet talent that has been brooding in the weeds for Alabama, and I definitely think that they're Pete Golding gets a lot of crap, but some criticism he deserves. Whenever you have Henry To'oTo'o as your second leading tackler and you're premier guy who failed at Tennessee, in my opinion, was not very good at Tennessee. When he's your premier guy, I think that's a failure. But whenever you look at their defensive backfield, and you do have Terry Arnold, you've got Kool-Aid McKinstry, you've got the freshman safety, Caleb
Downs.
Thank you, Spencer. Yeah. You got Caleb Downs, this talent who's being talked about at the same level as Malachi Starks was last year. I just think this defense is going to be very, very good. But again, my problem is their receivers are not that great. And their quarterback room is so broken that after the spring game, they went and got the worst quarterback in Notre Dame's quarterback room. So,
he wasn't that bad, but
okay, my dad's a Notre Dame fan. I watch Notre Dame play just as much as I watch Georgia play.
All right.
I have never thought that he was going to start be a good player for Notre Dame. I was so disappointed in him. but again, like I don't care about the hire. I actually like Tommy Reese. I think Tommy Reese got dealt a bad hand last year. All your like two of your you're supposed to be top wide receivers get hurt last year before the season starts. You have to throw to the 31-year-old tight end, 17 times a game. Like
Right.
they didn't have a lot of offense, so I don't blame him for that. But when I walk into this Bama season, I am not concerned about the defense. I'm not concerned about the O-line. They can't who's going to be the it guy?
I disagree.
Okay.
I think the offensive line will be better than it has in the last couple of years because they damn near got Bryce Young killed in 2022. But there's massive questions on that defensive line. And I think if we get down to talking about what's changed between now and the earlier periods of the Saban dynasty when there was so much dominance, it's a lot of front seven, and there's a star there. There's a Dallas Turner there. Like there was a Will Anderson there last year, but very telling to me that Tresman Marshall, who would not have probably been in Georgia's linebacker rotation this season, ended up going to Alabama. And, Nick Saban said very openly, hey, we only bring guys in from the portal if we need them to play. That says a lot to me about where things are with that linebacker room. And just that front seven, they gave up 300-something yards on the ground to Auburn their second to last game of the season. There's not a level of dominance on the defensive line that we're used to from them. But before we Spencer, I know you got to go, so give us your thoughts on Bama and give us your winner for the division.
Yeah, so Saban hinted back in November, I think, of last year about wanting the offense to move back in the direction of his power rushing offenses of old, sort of those teams that were built on physicality, kind of like what Georgia's tried to do. I think what Michigan is doing, some of those successful physical teams. And the offense is obviously ranked really, really high, averaging 40 points, and they've been doing a lot of things that they've wanted to do. But the ability to grind out yards and the clock through the traditional running game, just go back to 2020, Najee Harris was unreal. The final series against Tennessee is, I think, one of the key points of this from last season. Under a minute left, in range for the game-winning field goal, they decide to call two pass plays instead of trying to grind out a couple of runs for 10, 15 yards or 5 to 10 yards and try to get a higher percentage kick and force Tennessee to waste timeouts. Both of those passes fell complete. They missed the longer 50-yard attempt. And of course, Tennessee had time to get down the field in two plays and kick their field goal. I think Nick Saban wants to get back to his not get back to his old school mentality, but just get back to that physicality mentality. And if you have a Will Anderson, but maybe his edge is gone, how good is that player going to be? If you've got Dallas Turner, but he's got an edge to him because he's ready to be a little bit more physical, he's ready to impose his will. You've been practicing that way. The offense has been coming at you that way at practice. Then I think things can go a long way when you have the right mental edge. And I think that's everything about what physicality is in the game of football is we're going to have that different mental edge, and we have to practice it. I think it's one of the reasons Georgia has all the injuries they have because they practice that way week in and week out and session after session. So I think Nick Saban wants to get back to that physicality. He's brought in an offensive coordinator that's been physical at Notre Dame. That offensive line, I think, is got the pieces it needs. He's got the pieces in the backfield. He's got quarterbacks that can run. So it feels like they're going to be moving in that direction this upcoming season where they ran it 35 times a game last year, if I remember right. But this year it's going to be a different kind of running. And in those situations like against Tennessee, we're not going to be afraid to run it. We're going to be confident in our ability to go out there and pound away for those 5-10 yards when we really, really have to have them. Because when Jahmyr Gibbs is our running back and we're not confident in the offensive line or our mentality, our physicality to go get 5-10 yards on 2 carries, that's telling as well. That sort of concerns you. If Nick Saban's not confident enough in Jahmyr Gibbs to go get 5-10 yards on 2 carries with your offensive line, I can see why Nick Saban would want to go back to that. You could probably point to several spots in Georgia's season last year where, hey, the running game really came through in crucial moments to close out games, and it was unable to do that for Alabama against Tennessee. And I think that'll go a long way for them this year if they can get back to that mentality of we're not going to be denied.
So I'm my personal opinion is that they're going to make a big push in 2024 to get Saban his last national title. And I think that roster wise and, just looking at who's going to be there and what recruits are going to kind of be grown up by then, I think they're going to have a really good shot to do it. But I have my skepticism for 2023. Spencer, before you go, call your shot. Where does Bama finish this year? Are they over 10.5 wins or under 10.5?
Yeah, I'm not going. I don't think I'm going under. I think I'll take that over. And
all right, 11
just
and
because
1.
I have such a hard time betting against Nick Saban, I'll go over. I'll believe it when I see it, and that's sort of the position I always tend to find myself in.
Which is totally fair. So if they go 11 and 1, who do they lose to? Or I mean, do you think there's a loss on that schedule? I guess is what I should ask you.
In the for the regular season.
In the regular season, you got the Texas game week 2. You get Ole Miss at home week 4. You go to A&M. You get Tennessee at home. You get LSU at home. On the road at Kentucky, and then on the road at Auburn. Those seem to be the most, potential spots for tripping up.
Yeah, and maybe it's the Texas game there at the beginning of the year, just still trying to get things in and maybe not quite having the offense from that passing standpoint all the way ready. Because again, last year, and even you go back to the year with Najee Harris, Mac Jones still threw the ball 30 plus times a game, or at least close to it. So you're still going to be relying. I don't think Nick's going to go completely, 50 rushes a game kind of thing. You're still going to rely on your quarterback. And maybe if Texas is able to get the scoring going a little bit, maybe that's where that slip up could come. And if I had to pin it somewhere, maybe it's Texas there at the beginning of the year, perhaps.
All right, fair enough. So Alabama wins the division in your mind?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. All right, Spencer, thanks for joining us. Excellent analysis. I really liked your point on Saban kind of getting back to the way things used to be done. Y'all check out him and Robby on a Rich Tradition podcast and have a good evening. All right, buddy.
We'll do it. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate the time. Hate that I have to run here to work.
Love you, Spencer.
Thanks, guys.
All right, look, Spencer has no backbone. Let's just be honest, okay? Bama.
You waited for him to go. And then
I did. Yeah. Bama's this is not a Saban team. This is not a Saban of old. I don't want to hear about that we're going to get back to ground and pound. You don't have Derrick Henry back there.
They don't have the personnel for that.
No, they do not.
I hear him, not to cut you off, but I just got to make this point. What I hear people saying when they say Saban wants to get back to, 2 tight ends and more physical and not be so spread out is Alabama wants to be more like Georgia. That's what I hear.
You're not wrong, but here is also the problem. Who is the quarterback that is going to be the play, like bluntly, who's going to be the 2021 Stetson Bennett on this team? who's going to be the one who allows us to have balanced offense, but then can throw the ball when needed into tight spaces, or throw a deep ball to A.D. Mitchell going down the sidelines in the end zone. Because I'm going to tell you, I've seen enough and heard enough about Jalen Milroe, and I think the kid is a track star. Like, I mean, he's a pure breed athlete, but he makes a lot of mistakes. And I'm not even going by the A&M game. I'm going by the choices that Nick Saban has made since the spring game, when the starting job was up for grabs, and neither Ty Simpson nor Jalen Milroe grabbed it. But here, Graham, here's also a concern, and I want to hear your take on this. I don't think their wide receivers are that good. Like, and when I say that good, I'm talking about,
and they've been having a lot of drops in practice, and there's, we know Jermaine Burton well. I don't think we need to. We don't need to go down that wormhole too far, but I do think that there are still guys on the roster that are talented. Malik Benson, I think, is a stud, the JUCO transfer. But like Ja'Cory Brooks, I've been hearing about Ja'Cory Brooks being that guy for a couple years now, and he really hasn't become that. There's not a Jamison Williams, Devontae Smith type, wide receiver one on this roster. I think you're right.
Let me ask you a question, Graham, just real quick, because I know we don't want to talk about only Bama. If, let's just say, in a different world, they were able to get Drake May, or get Leary from NC State. Are we talking about Bama in this light, or are we talking about a possible national championship contender?
That's tough, man. I think, I mean, like, look, I was looking at odds this afternoon. They still have, I think, the second highest national championship odds of.
Is that a Saban effect, or is that an Alabama's team?
It's a Saban effect, man. It is a Saban effect, I think, and he's earned that right. Like, absolutely. He has. Georgia's plus 220 to win the national title. Alabama's plus 600. Ohio State plus 700. Michigan plus 800, and then you go down to LSU at plus 1100. So, like, Vegas still thinks that they are the second most likely team to win a national title, but they also think, odds are greater of them winning 10 games than 11.
And they also, they play, like, looking at this breakdown right now, they only have one team on their schedule that is expected to have under a 6.5 win total. Like, that means that they're playing tough teams. And from September 30th until their bye week, they go let's go before that. They go Ole Miss, at Mississippi State, which I do not think is going to be a guaranteed win, at A&M, Arkansas, and then the Tennessee game. Mm-hmm. Now, here's what I'll say. Come October 22nd, if they are unscathed, I'm picking them to win the SEC West. Like, if they make it, you know what I'm saying? Like, if they make it through that, but I think that's where they lose their 2 games. I don't think
if it was 2. You don't think that you're not worried about Texas?
Well, I meant before the bye week. Like,
gotcha. Okay.
Their 2 losses, I think, come before the bye week, because I don't think they're going to lose to LSU at home. I don't think they're going to lose at Kentucky. And we were just talking off air about the Auburn quarterback situation. I don't know how much I'm sold on Auburn pulling an upset this year.
Sure. I think that's, I would kind of agree with that. They do have to go to Auburn, and sometimes some weird stuff happens there. But I think, like, Alabama, the argument for Alabama is, look at all the talent. They're an 88% blue chip ratio roster.
Highest ever, apparently, or
I think the second highest after 2021 Bama.
Yeah.
Like, they have dudes all over the place, but I go down the list and I see what those guys have actually done. You already brought up receivers. You're looking at PFF grades of 72.2 and 71.6 for Brooks and Burton. That's about a replacement level Power 5 starter. McClellan, I think, is a very good back. You got Williams. we're going to see some Justice Haynes, I'm sure. Like, there's nice pieces. I think we both agree the offensive line is going to be better, but I don't think that offensive line is ready to. There's a big difference between being able to run the football when everybody knows that you're going to run the football and being able to run the football with help of, the passing threat. And last year they had a wonderful quarterback in Bryce Young, and everyone was afraid of what he could do in any moment of any game. And if this doesn't go well early in the season with whoever is under center, then I think it becomes pretty tough sledding for this offensive line. Even if I do think they're the most talented OL that Bama's had in a few years. Like, I think it's probably the best offensive line they've had since at least 2020. But I just don't think that in this day and age of the SEC and with their schedule that includes Texas A&M, that includes LSU, that includes, say what you want about Auburn, but like they have some dudes up front on the defensive line. And that's kind of a theme down their schedule. I just think that, if they don't figure it out at quarterback, it could be a long year.
Can I make mention of a player that
of course
I want to make mention of a player that I actually think is going to help immensely in their front seven, and then I have actually a question about their DC. Okay, I think Jaheim Otis is a name that everyone needs to know. The kid is 6'5". He apparently was almost at 400 pounds when he walked on campus last year, and now he's at 328. Apparently, like, is just a huge freak of a player. Just a player. Just to make mention of that we're hearing, like, it's just been rumblings about how good he is showing out on campus. What's your feelings on the defense coordinator change? Like, again, Pete Golding gets a lot of blame. I do think he deserves some criticism, but I don't think Pete Golding's the reason why they didn't win games, like win certain games last year.
I kind of like the move, honestly. I mean,
Okay.
I think that I like the DC hire better than the OC hire, and it's because
That's fair. Yeah.
you have somebody that just is kind of too old to give a crap anymore.
Yeah.
Like Tommy Rees, I heard Saban talk about him. I was at SEC Media Days, and I obviously, was kind of watching all of this closely, and I'm always very interested in just kind of the vibes around certain players and coaches and teams. And what I saw from Alabama at SEC Media Days was Saban talking about Tommy Rees and how he's a great young coach and he takes direction and all this stuff. And I don't know if that's the best thing for Nick to have, like, a yes man at OC. I think it's, having the history that Kevin Steele has with Saban at DC, I think is a good thing, because I think that they'll butt heads and that's okay. And that there's an understanding that's going to happen, and they'll kind of challenge each other. And that's usually how you get to the best place in any sort of organization. I'll just go ahead and say this now, because I'm going to say it at some point. When I watched Alabama come through kind of the SEC Media Days car wash and just observed all of it, Saban seemed very off. Kind of.
Is this you mentioned this in your article, didn't you? That you wrote?
Yeah, I talked about it in an article I wrote, and I think, like, my big takeaway was that this whole process-oriented message that he's preached for decades now, I don't know if it's landing as well as it used to with this current bunch of Alabama players. And the evidence of that has been, Will Anderson talking about their defense being anxious going into the Tennessee game and different things. There's a lot of little examples, but J.C. Latham getting up and, talking about how Georgia's not the standard anymore. We still consider ourselves the standard, and sort of just falling into that.
Yeah. There never need to be chirping. There was never chirping needed by Bama players.
And they never did that in the past. And to me, that whole kind of, talk or whatever you want to call it that he gave, it was like the media days equivalent of Georgia's players standing right outside of Alabama's tunnel in Sanford Stadium in 2015 and talking a whole bunch of shit right before they were about to get their asses beat. And
or like Mark Richt having to dance in the end zone for scoring a touchdown.
yeah, it's fake juice.
You had to have it. Like everyone remembers that moment. I was there. Like I remember I was there, and then I was there the year after when a senior Tim Tebow crushed our soul, and we wore those ugly black uniforms.
It was terrible.
It was so bad. I was so angry. Anyway, like Bama's never needed that. They've never needed chirping. They've never needed, like you just said, like fake juice. Like you didn't have to go into halftime like in Space Jam and drink MJ's magic juice. Like you just knew you're Bama, you're better than them, and you're gonna physically prove it. And I don't know. I just, like you said in that article, and like I've alluded to, I'm taking them on the under. Now the under may be 10-2.
Yeah,
it's still the under. But let me ask you this: if they walk out of this season at 9-3, are you shocked?
No, I'm not shocked. But I think that Alabama fans are going to be shocked.
Oh, they're going to burn something down.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a lot of them that are ready to push Nick out the door, and I think that would be a mistake. But I think that, like I said earlier, I think that Bama struggles through in 2023 and still is probably a 9 or 10 win team. I wouldn't be shocked if, there's still the potential. There's too much talent on the roster to say they can't go and win big, like this could be a playoff team. So I'm not trying to act like it's not, but my feeling on them is that they're going to get some guys who gain experience throughout the year and, ultimately kind of grow through some hard moments. And by the time we get to 2024, they're going to be really primed for one last run to get Nick another title before he takes it to the retirement home.
Who's that freshman quarterback? I always mispronounce his name. So
you're talking about Lonergan or
Lonergan. He apparently has been balling, but Saban has shot that down like a lame duck,
which I think might be a mistake. Honestly.
Yes, and that's kind of what I was alluding to. I don't have them winning the division.
All right, so who do you have winning the division?
All right, going out on a limb. I know everyone's gonna be shocked by this, but
Texas A&M.
No, I mean I was being sarcastic.
Okay.
I have LSU. I have LSU winning the division. I will say this: if you gun to my head, you made me pick another team that's not Bama or LSU. I think there's a world where Mississippi State is actually the one who wins the division.
There's not that world doesn't exist.
It does exist, and
it doesn't exist.
It does exist.
That is an absurd take.
No, it is not an absurd
yes,
take.
It is.
I look. I may be drinking the Bulldog juice, but
just no. You should just say I may be drinking. Period.
No,
end of sentence.
I'm not. Look, man. I love Will Rogers. I love that they return 8 on defense. Yeah. I love that they have a senior laden 8 on offense. They have a senior laden defense. I think almost everybody's a starter. Every starter's a senior. I love that they get so many of these difficult teams at home. But again, I'm picking LSU to win it because I think LSU does win the division. And we can talk about them if you want to. But I have no problem admitting my shame here. I really like Mississippi State this year. I really do.
I mean, I know you said. I mean, okay, so let's talk about LSU first, and then we'll circle back to Mississippi State.
It's okay. I'll take the hate. Look, everyone's got bad takes, okay? Everybody's got bad takes.
Of course.
And Mississippi State is just mine.
No, I mean, I'm intrigued. I have picked them. I was on a different podcast as a guest to do SEC win totals, and that was one that I was really strong on was Mississippi State over. So I think I like them more than most. I don't think there's a chance in the world that they win the SEC West. I think it'd be fun if they did. I would enjoy it. I would love the, kind of the storylines and the idea of like them coming together post Mike Leach. And I do believe that Leach and his staff were kind of building to this year and that they felt like this was going to be a good moment for them. But I just think there's too much in the way.
I get it. We're going to talk about that in a minute.
All right.
We can. But
well, let's talk about LSU. What do so you think they win the division?
I do. I just, man, I have to be honest. Since his freshman year at Arizona State, I have been a huge Jaden Daniels fan.
Agreed on that.
I got called an idiot for believing that he was going to be the starter when he transferred into LSU. I also got called an idiot for defending Brian Kelly when he got hired at LSU, but that's, I've already been proven right on that. So like I've taken my victory lap on that. However, I just really love Jaden Daniels. He is a really good college quarterback. He is not an NFL caliber stud, and I understand that. But guess what?
He looked good at Elite 11, man. I saw him there, and he's definitely put on 10 to 15 pounds of good weight.
I don't know if there's a bet outside of Georgia. I don't know if there's a better room of pass catchers in the SEC. I think that is going to be so helpful for them. Their offensive line grew up so much as the year went on, being so young. I really truly believe that Tennessee game was more of a fluke than it was Tennessee being so much better than them. I've never seen that is the worst special teams game I've seen since Georgia at Auburn in 2017.
Okay.
Like it was just like if you remember, guys, like the LSU had a fumble punt, they had a fumble kickoff on the opening kickoff. Also, by the way, their right tackle or left tackle was sick and couldn't play, so they just blitzed that side the entire game. And again, look, they won the game. I can't argue that LSU should have won it, but I also have such faith in Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly is just an awesome coach. And look, there are just times where I get like it's outside of numbers, it's outside of metrics. I just think Brian Kelly might be the best coach right now in the SEC West.
I don't disagree with that. I don't think that's a hot take. I think I'm okay. I'm on board with that. Yeah, I don't think that's crazy.
I love you, Graham. But I just that's just kind of how. So there's my breakdown. I just am very happy with them offensively. Defensively, I am so scared for a team that can pass. Because
like the one they play in week 1.
Yes, like the one they play in week 1, because you've got it in front of me. How many of them are hurt? J.K. Johnson's out for the year with a torn ACL. Denver Harris is kicked off the team for
when did that happen?
Or it seems that he is going to be kicked off the team. Like because he's been running with threes, and then he apparently went missing. Like he was at a practice for a couple days last week. Like he's been getting in trouble at LSU.
That's a problem.
And so I love Major Burns, maybe just for his name alone. But I love Major Burns. I really like Greg Brooks. Yeah, man. But this defensive backfield is brand new, and they can easily be thrown on early on in the season. And I mean, I'm not picking it officially, but I'm probably going to pick FSU to win that game, just because FSU has so many good wide receivers. But when we're talking about the season, I just love this team. And I think Harold Perkins and the return of Mason Smith, I don't know. I just feel really good about this team, except for the secondary.
I mean, I agree. And the interesting thing is, like, okay, the secondary we have questions about. But if we're talking between Alabama and LSU, like who's winning the division, it probably comes down to that game. And guess where, having a bad secondary is probably not going to be as big of a liability for your football team in Tuscaloosa.
When a team can't throw.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think it's so severe as to say they can't throw, but
Yeah, that's hyperbole. Sorry. Yes.
no, for sure. I'm just, I just want to be clear. Like, I also think that LSU could go and lose at Missouri in like week 6. Like I think the LSU, because of the bad secondary that we're talking about, it creates a level of variance where, I don't think they can dominate games. Am I crazy to feel like, that their ceiling as a team? I know you just talked about your Jaden Daniels love, but I think like if Nussmeier was under center for them, then I might feel like their ceiling's a little bit higher than I do with Daniels.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw him in the SEC championship game.
Yeah, but I saw every quarterback against Georgia last year, like except for one and CJ Stroud. Like again, it goes back to the abuse of that young offensive line. Georgia's defensive line was elite last year. Their pass rushers elite. Everything on defense was elite. I think you're maybe right. My difference between Nussmeier and Daniels is Daniels could rush for 1,000 yards last year. I don't know if Nussmeier could create plays like that. But at the same time, maybe he doesn't have to this year. To your point, like maybe he doesn't have to.
That's maybe. I think that they need him to be an effective runner.
That's fair.
Even if it's not because he's getting flushed, I think his legs have to be part of that offense because I don't think the running backs are that good.
Okay, that was gonna be my next question. Like, Noah Cain was a Georgia target, and he chose LSU.
Well, he went to Penn State first, but
yeah, but like I'm just saying, like he was sought after heavily.
Gotcha.
And
yeah.
Goes to Penn State, transfers LSU. Not really the guy. Josh Williams. Okay, maybe not the guy either. But I think, and I think your point is valid here. For them to go 11-1, they have to be consistent with running the ball, though, right? Like they have to be balanced, right? They have to be balanced across the board. I mean, on offense, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely think they, I just don't know that.
You don't know if they can.
Yeah, I'm not sure that. Like, I don't think the recipe for success for them is to try and keep Daniels in the pocket and to turn him into, like they'll hit some vertical plays downfield because they got Malik Neighbors and Mason Taylor's the second best tight end in the SEC, in my opinion. And one thing I feel like LSU just always has is loads and loads of dudes to play wide receiver that are going to be good, going to be fine. I think that, the O-line kind of has to be better, but
what if they're not?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if they're not, and what if, the secondary,
Spencer and I have this. Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. It's just like you guys brought up, you brought up the situation in the secondary. You get Mason Smith back, but Harold Perkins, really good pass rusher, but like
George kind of exposed him.
Might be a liability in some other ways. Yeah.
Yep.
And Mekhi Wingo, I like a lot, but it's just like, I don't know that I trust LSU's interior line any more than I trust Alabama's. So that's my struggle.
So to your point though about the offensive line, Spencer and I, like we have this like running bit throughout college football season going into each season. Like everyone just assumes that these teams who have all these players returning automatically assume like, man, they're going to be so good this year because they're returning so much. But what if what they're returning is not very good?
Yeah. Not all returning production is good production.
Yeah. And so I feel pretty confident picking them to go 10-2, like to get the over. I don't know if I feel confident that they're going to take that step that Brian Kelly probably wants, and being a formidable opponent in the SEC championship. I don't know. I will say this: their pass catchers are really freaking good, and
Yeah.
if Jaden Daniels will freaking throw the ball instead of trying to run and play Madden 2004 and run around and then throw the ball,
Try to be Michael Vick.
yeah, like
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm just glad that I found another person who agrees with me on Brian Kelly.
Oh,
And
yeah.
agrees with, and loves and enjoys Jaden Daniels like I do, because like watching him play, he is so fun to watch.
He's fun to watch for sure. And honestly, I think the good news for LSU is this kind of offense that we're talking about that we are imagining here. If it comes out early in the season and it's not great, and let's say you kind of maybe lay an egg against Florida State and it's not clicking early in the year, you got Nussmeier, and Nussmeier is a stud. Okay. Like, he is a good downfield passer, and that downfield passing can help your running game, and it can do a lot of things. So I just think LSU has two quarterbacks that I think they can win the division with. So, and that's a big deal.
So Brian Kelly's been obsessed with mobile quarterbacks since Notre Dame, since Louisville, or I'm sorry, since Cincinnati. Like, he wants a mobile quarterback. Do you think Nussmeier probably should have already transferred?
Mm-mm.
Like,
nope.
So like you think next year it is his show?
I think it could be his show in the middle of this year at some point.
Okay.
And I mean, part of that is the style that Jaden Daniels plays is risky. And, you're running your
DeShone Kizer. I can tell you about DeShone Kizer being such a great player at times for Notre Dame, but then also being such a liability because he just would not throw the ball.
Well, no, I'm talking about from an injury standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, like, there's a chance Daniels goes down, so that's one reason for Nussmeier to have stuck around. But I also just think that if you look at them as a program and sort of what they're building towards, that offensive line is going to keep getting better. And, by the time you get to 2024, I think you trust them a little more with pass protection and being consistent with it. And I also think that with Nussmeier under center, you don't lose. Like, he's not a threat to go and take it 40 yards on a touchdown run, but like, he can extend plays with his legs, and he can move the pocket, and he can, get out of sacks, and that type of like functional mobility, I think is really what's most important, because in this day and age, sometimes it's more important just to stay out of the really bad play, the drive killing play, than it is to be able to make the hero play. But just to be able to live to fight another down is probably enough mobility to be happy.
It's just funny that we both agree Nussmeier can throw the ball better than Jaden Daniels. Mm-hmm. But just knowing Brian Kelly at Notre Dame as long as I have, because my dad's from South Bend. He's a huge Notre Dame fan. Like, knowing Brian Kelly, just loving mobile quarterbacks. Like, he just always has.
Yeah, but I mean, like, Ian Book was a mobile quarterback, but he wasn't, he wasn't Jaden Daniels. He wasn't a true dual threat,
Yep. No,
I think Nussmeier is probably more that.
Okay.
That mold.
Where you at? Where you at with that? Or so you want open under? Because I got a team to ask you about, because I am so curious to see how you feel about A&M.
I think with LSU, I like, on my preseason ballot at SEC Media Days, I picked LSU to win the West. And I'm starting to waver on that a little bit. Just because of some of the injuries and some of the, like, that schedule's, it's tough. You got to go on the road to Ole Miss. You got to go up to Missouri, which, as
respect Mississippi State. They're playing. They're going to Mississippi,
and that's an early season game.
Yeah,
like, even Florida coming off a road trip to Alabama is a sneaky spot. And you saw what Texas A&M did to them last year. So
You gonna change your pick?
I still think they go over 9.5 wins.
Okay. Yeah, I think 10-2 is their record this year.
Yeah.
I think their talent, their growth, and their coaching will take away 2 losses from last year. Going 9-4, I think. I don't know who's going to win the division if it's not them. Or feel.
I think they beat Bama again.
That would be so. Just
the problem is I think that there's a very good chance they lose to Florida State in week 1 just because of not having Mason Smith for that game is a very big deal. So
they won't have him.
No, he's suspended for that game.
Okay, so this is news to me. I didn't know that.
That got announced yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. So he signed some autographs or some crap right before NIL. So
that's so stupid. God, NCAA, you suck. Spencer. Sorry, I'm used to recording with Spencer.
You're good.
Graham, where are you at with A&M, bro?
I like A&M a lot, man. Let's talk about A&M because my personal opinion on A&M is if you can get past everything you think about A&M and everything you don't like about Jimbo Fisher, all right, the job in my mind that I do or that we do is about cutting through emotion and narrative and just looking at facts and trying to make predictions based off of those facts. And if you look at the facts of the case, okay, and you go down the roster, A&M, they've got Wegman. I trust Wegman. I trust Max Johnson too. Okay, we're good at quarterback. Running back, we're good. We're fine. They've got dudes there. Receiver, best receiving core in the SEC. Evan Stewart, Moose Muhammad, Aeneas Smith. That is the best frontline 3 in the league, in my opinion. Go to O-line. I think still some questions there, but lots of experience. They've got 3, 2 tackles and a guard that all played about 700 plus snaps last year. They've got another guard who I think struggled but got better at the end of the season. We saw what that offensive line did to LSU in their last game. So I think that group's coming together. I want to see some more improvement there. And then you go to the freaking defense, man. It's freaking 5-star after 5-star, and it's they bring Tony Grimes in, which scares me a little bit. I know he's a former 5-star, but he wasn't that good at UNC, and so that
was UNC, so it's okay.
True, but it's just that makes me ask myself a little bit do they not like what they have at corner? But Damani Richardson, really, really good, talented safety. I think they've got good pieces, and honestly, I think there's just kind of maybe too much talent in the secondary for it to not work out. But I think that's my biggest question mark is how does that secondary come into place? Because the front 7, look, man, Shamar Turner, former 5-star. Brownlow Dindy, former 5-star. McKinley Jackson, former 4-star, but a very proven player who, recorded 14 pressures in just 389 snaps last year as an interior defender, which is not easy to do. They got Diggs, another stud. Walter Nolan, former 5-star. Shamar Stewart, former 5-star. Eni White, high 4-star. There's 5 or 6 dudes on this defensive line that everybody wanted, and they got them. And you look at what happened to that team last year, it was not a talent issue that held them back. Bobby Petrino can call ball plays, dude. Again, take emotion out of it. Let's look at the facts of the situation from a pure football standpoint. The guy knows how to score points. He dialed it up on Arkansas last year. And I think if you can guarantee me that he's getting something close to full control over that offense, then I think they're a tough out. And I think that defensive line, like I like how they would match up against Alabama this year. I like how they would match up against LSU as well. I go down the schedule. They get Bama at home. I think going on the road to Tennessee, that's a tough ask for them, because if that defensive line can't totally, control the game on the level that Georgia has against Tennessee the last 2 years, then I see that maybe be in the spot where their secondary really hurts them. But I think they beat South Carolina. I think they've got the talent to beat Ole Miss. That's too late in the season to predict. They get Mississippi State at home. They do have to go on the road to LSU, but the win total here is 7.5, and I am way over that.
Yeah, I'm hitting that over hard. Okay. Also, like, tricky game. I think that Miami game is gonna be trickier than just a walkthrough.
I agree.
I don't know why. I think everything that could go wrong last year went wrong because they had a poor offensive coordinator and they fixed that issue at Miami. But anyway, it's not about them. Here's where I'm at, Graham, and I mean this legitimately. If you could look into the future right now, not tell me who wins, not tell me their record, but you told me that Petrino gets to call plays every game this year, and there is no interference, I legitimately could pick A&M to go 11-1 this year.
Yeah, I agree.
I would pick them to go. I would pick them to win the West. I would probably pick them to give Georgia the game of the year, like be the toughest out for them for the year. But because you can't, and also because DJ Durkin is their defensive coordinator, who I don't really trust very much, I'd pick them to go. I'd pick over on 7.5, but I don't know how far over.
Well, it's up to 8 now.
Oh well. Okay, I'd still pick over. I would still pick over, but maybe 9. Like I don't know, because I legitimately don't trust DJ Durkin. I think he's an incredible downgrade from Mike Elko, but I mean Mike Elko left to go be a head coach. But then
if they still had Elko on the staff, dude, I honestly like. Just because the talent is so ubiquitous, there is part of me that's like, is it worth taking some small flyers on, Texas A&M to make the CFP? Like, because that is the ceiling here. Like, this team, if it all clicked and came into place, they have enough talent to win a national title, and people don't to hear that.
They really do.
So I saw somebody on Twitter. It was a really good stat. They catalog something called super recruits, which is basically, I think, former top 50 overall or top 60 overall players. And the stat was like every national champion of the modern era has had like at least, I think, like 12 super recruits on their team or something like that. There's only 6 teams that reached that bar this year. You got Georgia, you got Alabama, you got Ohio State, you have Texas, you have A&M, and I think I'm not sure who the other one was, to be honest with you. But
it wouldn't be USC, would it?
No, it's definitely not USC.
Okay.
Point being, like, the talent is very real on this roster.
Yeah, to me, okay, I know you may not even have a take. You may not have been prepared for me coming at you with this, but the DJ Durkin piece matters to me. Like, it isn't a matter about what happened in Maryland. Like, I don't know if I trust him with this talent. But again, it's Petrino though. Like, does Petrino get control of the offense, or the first time where it's 4th and 1 on their opponent's 40?
That's the question.
Does Jimbo step in and say, "Nope, we're gonna punt it. We're gonna punt the ball." Like it's that kind of stuff. because again, if you tell me Petrino takes over completely on the offense and is calling plays, this team legitimately could go 11-1.
I mean, who's the one?
I'm just covering my butt. That's all. I'm just covering my butt of just because hashtag college football.
Yeah.
They could lose at Tennessee, or they lose early at Miami. I don't know. I don't freaking know. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, their talent could be 12-0 to your point, but I just I got to hedge my bet somewhere.
I think I'll put it this way. I think that they're definitely like worth some flyers in the futures market. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
looking
you're
at
the gambling man. Like you're all about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, let's talk about let's see here. To make the playoffs, you can get where's Texas A&M? You can get Texas A&M at plus 1,200 to make the playoffs. It's pretty good. That's
what was that number again? I'm so sorry.
plus 1,200. So a $10 bet, we win $120. I could see A&M getting to Atlanta and playing Georgia and like, you know, maybe depending on how that goes,
because there is a piece
both
of this
end
too.
up in the CFP. You know,
there's a piece of this though where we also have to mention. I don't think Jimbo's coaching for his job because it's still $72 million next year.
No, he's coaching for his job, dude.
So like that was what I was alluding to. Is like I don't know if it's this year, but I know he's on the hot seat if he has another abysmal year. Like
depends on where the price of oil is around Thanksgiving, but
yeah,
I still think
you can't lose with this talent. You cannot lose 4 or 5 games again with this talent.
I mean, he lost 7 last year.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's brutal.
To be honest, like except for the 2020 year, it's been so. I don't know. It's just been the epitome of disappointing for me.
Of course. And the 2020 year is, let's be honest, like it's an asterisk.
It is.
Okay. Like it
is.
It's not really, there was not a level playing field across the sport. And
nope.
Anyone that tries to tell you differently is either an Alabama or an A&M fan, probably.
It's fair.
So you are, you know, we're already pretty far into this show, so I don't want to go over the rest of the West in quite as much detail as we have these first 3, because I think the first 3 are the cream of the crop, so to speak. Yeah. But you mentioned your affinity for Mississippi State, so I
do.
I'm giving you a pulpit.
Okay.
They are a win total of 6.5.
Hit that over, baby. Hit that over.
Sell it to me. Tell me why.
All right, look, man. First of all, Will Rogers. Like, respect Will Rogers, folks. Okay. Yes, I know he threw the ball 4,700 times. Okay, I understand that. But that is the offense that he played in. But you know what he also was? Throwing the ball as many times as he did, he was efficient. He was very efficient in throwing the ball several times. And in this new offense, theoretically,
what is the new offense look like?
From what I understand, it is not going to be full pro style, but it's going to be closer to a pro style type offense.
Interesting.
You give Will Rogers a potential running game with a good offensive line where he can actually have play action that people believe is going to happen. And
right.
he's not having to throw screens. He's not having to throw these really weird 2-yard hitches, but he's actually able to throw quick slants. He's able to throw post routes. He's able to throw the ball downfield. I think Will Rogers like really does have a coming out party for the rest of the SEC of realizing, hey, he's more than a dink and dunk guy. And look, I'm preaching about Will Rogers and Mississippi State believing that they can win 8 games. I'm not saying that they're going to.
Sure.
Like I want to be clear about my expectation of this team. But you can tell me that they lost quite a bit on defense, which is agreeable. However, when I look down their projected starting lineup for this year, senior, junior, senior, junior.
Mm-hmm.
They are senior laden across the board. Now, again, that doesn't always equate elite talent. But like you said a minute ago, like this was supposed to be the year. This was supposed to be the year for Mississippi State. This was supposed to be Mike Leach's like big push. This was going to be his, Washington State type year with Gardner Minshew and what's his name? The other kid who did really good for them. He got drafted by the Steelers.
I don't know.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. But they lost it. They lost in the Snow Globe game against Washington because Washington knew exactly what they were going to do.
Yeah,
and then
I remember that.
But you look at this team, and yes, I understand that they lost. They lost Robert Thomas, which is a big deal. I can't belittle that.
Sure.
But I also look at how much they're returning on defense. They're possibly elite level quarterback. Their offensive line, who plays pretty darn good. And then you look at their schedule, Graham. They play at Arkansas, at Auburn, at A&M, at South Carolina. That's their away game schedules.
That's nice.
Like that's like they legitimately they play Southeast Louisiana, Arizona, LSU comes to town, and they go to South Carolina. You're telling me there's not a world where they're 3-1 after that first four?
Oh, I think there definitely is. Yeah, I agree.
And then Bama, of course, who knows? Then they've got Western Michigan going to town. They got a bye week, and then at Arkansas, at Auburn. I think, and then Kentucky comes to town. Those are 3 incredibly winnable games.
I think Kentucky gets them.
Okay, and that's because I like Leary a lot. By the way, we're not talking about SEC East, but
sure,
I really like Leary this year.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I think Kentucky really likes him too.
Yeah.
If I'm going down their schedule right now for Mississippi State, I think I'm going to say LSU is a loss. I'm going to say Alabama's a loss. I'm going to say A&M is a loss. There's not anywhere else on that schedule that I feel like, and honestly, of those 3 that I just pointed out, there's a universe where they could win one of those games. I don't think they can win 2 of them, but I think there's a universe where they could pull an upset in one of those. And then the other 9 are all very winnable. I think they beat Arizona. They beat Southeast Louisiana, obviously. They beat Western Michigan. That's 3 wins right there. They beat Southern Miss. That's 4. I think I like them against Arkansas and Auburn.
Graham, you're starting to speak some truth, bud.
I know, but I mean, I'm just trying to get to 7 wins because if I really believe they're going to win 7, then I should go bet that in Vegas because it's juiced heavily to the under. Like if you plus 145 is Vegas really thinks this is a 6-win team, is what I'm trying to tell you.
But I think that goes back to a coaching thing. I think that's more about them losing Mike Leach, and like Mike Leach coached my alma mater. I was a water boy for him whenever he was at Valdosta State.
That's awesome.
Like he gave me $1. I think I told you this story before.
Yeah,
but he gave me $1 because it was hot heat, and he's like, "How much are they paying you?" I was like, "Nothing, sir." And he's like, "Gave me $1." It was really freaking cool. So I love Mike Leach and what he did, but. Like, there's a reason why Mississippi State picked the defensive coordinator to stay on, and I think it's because of continuity.
Sure.
And they believed in what they had coming in this year. And again, I'm saying like 8 wins. I'm not saying 11-1.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I'm not sold. I think I'm with you. I just think and this is kind of the point I was trying to make before we got into the rest of this preview after we did A&M is like the bottom 4 of the SEC West is just it feels very hard to predict. And
yeah, no, that's fair.
Like I think that
Ole Miss don't make no sense.
Well, I mean, you got Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Auburn, and Arkansas. One of those teams is finishing last in this division. And they all have win totals of 6.5 or better, including Mississippi State. That's 5.
Yeah.
Like,
Mathematically, though, does that make sense? Like that all those teams have such high win totals? Like
no.
you're the math guy. Like someone's got to take the losses.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, Ole Miss is at 7.5 wins. Arkansas is at 7 wins. Auburn's at 6.5 wins. And Mississippi State is at 6.5. Like, that's just a lot of mediocrity, man.
it is. It is. I mean, just quickly, just talking about Ole Miss. Like
Mhm.
I love their running game. I don't know who's going to be the starting quarterback. I trust Lane Kiffin offensively. I don't know how much I trust this defense that has been like as inconsistent as Two-Face flipping a coin.
Yeah.
Like, like so, and then Arkansas, I love KJ Jefferson for what he does. Another really good college quarterback who's probably not going to be that dude in the NFL. But
Mhm.
I don't know if I trust Sam Pittman, like just bluntly.
I think Arkansas's. I picked them to be last in the division this year.
I probably would too.
Yeah, and it's not because I don't like Sam Pittman. I love Sam Pittman. I think
He's a great
awesome.
dude.
Yeah. Yeah, he's awesome. But I just think that defense was sketchy last year, and it lost the only few good players it had. And then, KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders can't do everything by themselves, and they're just relying on a ton of transfers. Like, I think for me, after that top three of A&M, LSU, Alabama in some order, then I'm falling in. I'll go Mississippi State fourth.
Okay.
And then, what do you think about Ole Miss? Do you think that they have, an offense?
Dude, it's the most. It's their coach in a nutshell. They're erratic. You don't know what you're gonna get. You know that you should get a consistent offense and an offense that's going to have big plays and going to score on you. But there were times last year. I need their stuff in front of me. Like there were times last year where, as you alluded to, man, their offense, their defense was just not great, and their offense would sputter, especially late in the season. Now I can't remember if they had injuries or not, but they're scoring 35, 50 points, 42 points, 59 points early in the year, and then 4 of their last 5 games they didn't score over 27 points.
Well, they were. I think they were 7-0, and then they finished 7-5. Like the air went out of that balloon when they lost that game to Alabama,
and they got worked by LSU.
They got worked by Arkansas too. Arkansas beat the crap out of them.
I remember that game. I remember. Yeah, man. And so that's what I'm saying. I think Lane Kiffin. I mean, I think Lane Kiffin has done a great remodel job of his career, of what how people viewed him, because some people may not remember how much people hated him after the Tennessee and USC debacle. But sure. He's been at Ole Miss and he's done a good job, and he fits well at Ole Miss. But also keep this in mind. Wasn't this past offseason where it was alluded that another school wanted him and he was interested in the Auburn job?
Yeah.
That's just, again, more of the erratic nature of their coach.
Well, so, I mean, that all played out throughout November, and a lot of Ole Miss fans felt like that's why his team played like dog crap down the stretch, was because their coach was thinking about another job and they were, pissed off about it, and everything fell apart.
And then you tell me they've got 3 it feels like 3 transfer quarterbacks, even though it's only 2. But you bring Walker Howard, you bring in Spencer Sanders, you got Jackson Dart, and then you have a legitimate competition for the quarterback room all spring. You don't have an answer.
It sounds like it's going to be Dart, but it sounds like he's taking a big jump. Judkins is a stud. Yeah.
He's a dude, man.
There's no question there. Ooh. And I mean, wide receiver wise, we trust Ole Miss and they just brought in Zachary Franklin from UTEP. I don't think that's on the chart here, but I mean, He was one of the best receivers in the country last year. I think they're going to score a lot of points. I just don't know if they'll really actually, man, they do have on the defensive front, looking at this, anybody that's highlighted in yellow has played a minimum of 100 snaps the year before, and they had a PFF grade of 70 plus, which is kind of a benchmark, but they got 5 such dudes in their defensive front. That surprises me. That's more than LSU and a lot of other teams.
Their depth at cornerback though is a concern.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree with you there for sure.
Like if one of their starters goes down, like it's pick on Central. Like you're just gonna be picking on that kid, whoever it is. Man, in that I see listed 2022 team, Walton. Didn't Walton like play pretty well, like for them last year?
I'm sorry, are you talking about
Zamari Walton, the kid from Georgia Tech?
No, yeah, I mean, he was good for Tech. He had a 74.5 PFF grade, 6 pass breakups, 1 interception. I'm not sure how many yards he allowed as a corner, but that's a pretty high. That's a pretty high PFF grade for a corner, honestly.
Yeah.
But
let me ask you this though, and I hate to drastically shift gears, but I know we don't want to be on for 2 hours. I just want to ask, like, I think I trust Lane Kiffin and his team over Arkansas and over Auburn.
I agree. And I hate to say this to you, but after looking up and down the roster again, I think
you're gonna take them over Mississippi State, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's fine. Look, again,
I still think Mississippi State goes over the 6.5.
Are you gonna bet it? I have to ask you. I'm sorry to put you on the air, but are you gonna bet it?
Yeah, I'll take a little action on it, not a lot.
All right.
I have been very firm that Mississippi State is a 7 or 8 win team.
Yeah,
for a few months now. So, it's not one you're not talking me into it, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's fine. I just feel very good about them.
Well, so Ole Miss 7.5 wins. They beat Mercer. I think that Tulane game in week 2 on the road is very interesting. I think they will win, but I think it'll be a fun game to watch.
What if they lost?
Oh man. You know how good the jokes would be about like former SEC member Tulane?
I do think, though, I could be wrong. I do think maybe Tulane is getting a little too much credit, because I do think that there have been a lot of people talking up that game that Ole Miss could lose it.
I don't think they can really lose it, to be honest.
I don't think so either.
They're not USC. They have some semblance of a defense.
Yeah.
They'll beat Georgia Tech, I think. Dude, that Alabama game is kind of intriguing just because there's a universe where Lane messes around and schemes up 34 points and Alabama can't keep up, Yeah,
I'm looking at past games since he's been there against Bama.
Yeah.
We got the 2020 season, 48-63. 21 season where they got worked, 21-42. Is that where he told them to get your popcorn ready for the second half and they got just beat the brakes off of? But then last year, to your point, 24-30.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Bryce Young being mighty Bryce Young in that game.
He had to pull some stuff out of his, what.
If, to your point, I mean, Lane Kiffin against Bama this year, unless we're completely wrong and they're just really good, if you hit 24 against Bama, you have a chance, right?
I mean, if their defense, yeah, I think they do actually, but I think they need like 34, maybe. Like I think Bama's.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I just was trying to find the number. Like, what's the
Well,
number
and it's
where
hard to say with these clock rules too, because you're talking less possessions.
I think when your listeners brought that up, like that this season may actually benefit Bama because of the new rules.
It could.
Classic. Yeah, just don't
checks come out of Birmingham, baby.
Yeah, don't get me started. Like I am not in the mood for Bam. I'm not. Yeah, I'm just not in the mood for that right now. Just
all right. So all right, let's just
Simmons was on sides.
Brass tacks. Okay, I think Ole Miss. They start 3-0. I think they lose to LSU. I think they beat Arkansas. That's 4 wins. They beat Auburn. That's 5. They beat Vandy. That's 6. I think they lose to A&M. They lose to Georgia. They beat Monroe. And I think they beat Mississippi State. It's a tough, I must say 8, but it's right on the number. You know what? Ooh, man. There's a big desire inside of me right now to pick them to beat Alabama. I think they're going to beat Alabama in week 4.
Okay.
I know it sounds crazy. I know it sounds crazy. But
here's the thing. Because you're making this now and which is essentially a month from the game, you can change your mind at any point.
I can.
Because Bama could go in the Texas game, beat the brakes off Texas, us all be wrong about Bama, and then we're all okay. Well, Saban's about to Saban.
They figured it out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But right now, I think I just think it'd be kind of the perfect spot because going back to Bama's schedule and what they have early in the season, they come off that Texas game and they go on the road to South Florida.
Who agreed to that game?
I think it's a neutral site, but still.
Who owed someone money? Like that's just the most random. You just don't see Bama play games like that,
I know it is a weird spot. So let's wrap this up. Rapid fire here.
Yep.
Arkansas.
KJ Jefferson or bust?
Yeah,
under.
I'm going under.
I'm not happy about it, but I'll go under.
I mean, dude, I look at their schedule. I think Missouri beats them. I think they could go like
hot take
4-8.
BYU might beat them.
I do too. I agree, man. Whoever scheduled that game is an idiot, by the way.
So freaking dumb.
Auburn. Look, dude, we know Auburn's going to mess somebody's season up. Right?
Yeah, but I don't think it's any one of the top 3. I feel pretty strongly about it. As long as Peyton Thorne is the quarterback, I don't trust this offense to shock anybody. Because look, he is an incredible coach. Okay, incredible offensive coach. Let me be
he's a good offensive mind.
Good offensive mind.
The game's caught up to him a lot.
Yes, agreed. Everybody's running this kind of offense now. He's walking to a situation where they were just so broken last year in a lot of ways that I'm thankful that thankful that he's given a second chance. He's coming in, but his quarterback room isn't great. His running back room is okay. His wide receiver room isn't great. And also, like, when I think of new coaches coming into situations this year, there's really only one that jumps off the page for me that I'm like, okay, they could really turn this around and do something special. And that's Wisconsin with Luke Fickell. But when I look over here, I'm like, dude, you're playing the SEC. You're on the road at Cal. You're on the road at A&M. You're on the road at LSU. You're on the road at Vandy. You're on the road at Arkansas. You play Bama. You play Georgia. You play Ole Miss. I say under, but it might not just. It has nothing to do with him, with Hugh Freeze. It has everything to do with the attrition.
I mean, I think they beat Vandy. They beat Arkansas. They beat New Mexico State. They beat UMass. They beat Samford. They beat Cal. That's 6.
What if they don't beat Cal? Cal's known for having at least a good defense.
I know, but they're going to beat Cal, dude.
Okay. I mean, I'm just playing the what if game.
I know, but I just think there's times in the past where I've I've made a lot of money off Cal over the years. I just don't know that this is the year.
I mean, hey, do your thing.
I do like Justin Wilcox. I think he's a great defense coordinator, or just a defensive minded head coach. That game will probably be ugly, but I just think Auburn's line of scrimmage.
Watch, it'll be like one of those like 21-10, but you get a late field goal to make it like
to
you know
ruin
what I'm saying?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
push a spread or something. Probably.
Yeah.
That's exactly what'll happen. And it'll happen at like 3:00 in the morning too.
And you know what? I'll be dialed in.
Yeah. I'll be on the couch alone with the dogs.
I'll text you, Graham. I'll be like, you up with a capital U.
It's like, damn, did you just push there? I'll be like, yeah, bro. I just stayed up all hours of the night to.
I mean, what do you think of their? What do you think of their skill position rooms, though? Like, do you
Auburn?
Yeah, the wide.
I mean, I like Jarquez Hunter a lot. I think their receivers are thin.
I love how you had exasperate before giving
Various Johnson, nice player, but at the rest of the spots is kind of garbage sauce. The O-line, dude, yeah, it's maybe I'm wrong, you know. Look, dude, you know what? Like, I like their secondary.
Graham, I just love watching you like think through things. I like watching you and listening to you process this. They're legitimately their secondary is probably one of the best in the country. Like it's really freaking good.
But they're gonna get tired of tackling running backs over and over at the second level every week.
Yeah, their defensive backs are gonna have like
they're
broken clavicles.
Business decisions. Yeah. Under 6.5 Auburn, 6-6 team, maybe 5-7.
Someone's got to take the losses, man.
Yeah, and you know, dude, everyone's like, "Oh, Hugh Freeze is back. He's gonna figure it out." Are we sure about that?
No,
I'm not either.
What's the best win? What besides beating Bama 2 years in a row? What is the best record that he had? 9-3.
I think 9-4.
9-4.
They went to that Peach Bowl that one year and they got absolutely like
shredded, right?
Dunked by TCU. Yeah.
Oh, was that the Boykin? Was that the Boykin year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I love that TCU team.
Bo Wallace threw like 5 picks in the first half.
I will say this. Hugh Freeze knew how to pick a quarterback. Swag Kelly. You know, but no, I agree with you. Who's
he picked? Peyton Thorne this time.
Yeah.
So we're under Arkansas. We're under Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I got us off track here. Oh, there we go.
Sorry.
Who do we got left here? Anybody? I think we're good.
I think that's everybody in the West.
Okay.
I'm sorry that I made you go an hour and 45 minutes. I tend to do that.
I enjoyed it. It was fun. And we talked about Georgia for like a half hour to begin with. So, well, Robbie, I enjoyed this a lot, man. Again, tell folks where they can watch you guys or listen to you guys. A rich tradition. 3 words there. You can find us on any podcast stream, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Spencer is on Twitter. I am not at Spencer Van Horn. I think that's his handle. But yeah, we once the season starts next week, we'll be recording twice a week. I'm really excited about that. Yeah, man, I you know, just to say this so it can be said publicly, I'm just so thankful that you guys are giving us a chance to just be with y'all and of course
and do something here because man, we just love college football.
Absolutely. No, man, of course. And you know, we have an awesome community over on the Dog Central website, and I'm excited for you guys to come and kind of interact on the forum over there. And because there's a lot of people that love Georgia football, but they love college football, you know, as much or even more. And I think you guys fit that bill as well. So it's going to be awesome. And, you know, truthfully, like I've told you this before, you know, in private, but it's like I enjoy y'all's stuff. So anytime I can try and like, not that like we're some big giant platform that's going to bring you hundreds of thousands of engagements or anything like that, but I always want to, like, the content that I enjoy, I want people to find it, so if there's any way I can help with that, then I'm all for it.
I haven't asked you this, like, and I'm sure if this is spoiling something that you already have ahead of time, I apologize, so you don't have to answer, but you got Georgia win the East?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Just asking.
Yeah. No surprises there. Okay. I still am not sure if I have Georgia winning the national title, but I don't have to decide that right now. We're not going down that wormhole.
Me neither.
Sorry.
Like, three-peat hasn't happened since the 40s. Like, I just got to. It's just so hard to pick that. So
for sure. If you're watching still and you see this awesome standing bulldog t-shirt that I have, it's pretty rad. You can find your own at homefieldapparel.com. Use code DogCentral23. That's all caps and 23 at the end for 20% off. There's a lot of smaller discounts available out there from Home Field Apparel, but there's not many 20% offs out there. So go check it out. Get geared up for the season. In addition to Georgia gear, you can use that code on anything on their website, and they have like some incredibly beautiful stuff like old school Hawaii Rainbow Warriors tees, Colorado School of Mines swag.
I got some Syracuse stuff. I'm a Syracuse basketball fan.
There you go.
I got some of their orange gear. It was great.
Nice. And they've got a whole line of bomber jackets that are starting to come out for lots of schools. The Georgia one, I think, is still a little ways off, but there's some awesome stuff out there. So check out homefieldapparel.com. Please support the people that support us. Go check out Robby and Spencer on a Rich Tradition podcast. And likes are free. Subscribes are free. So if you've watched this and you've enjoyed it, or even if you haven't enjoyed it, I don't really care. Hit the like button, please. And please subscribe to our channel so you can get a notification when we go live, which we'll be doing a whole lot starting on Labor Day weekend. So until later, thanks for joining us.